No smoking, no drinking, no drugs. I've actually never even smoked weed, not even once. I used to vape a lot, like nicotine, like the Juul, and then I had like disposable vapes when I was in high school, but I've never smoked weed, I've never touched any hard drugs, and like I said, I also don't drink alcohol. And I believe that's been my superpower, and that's why I've become a multimillionaire at the age of 21 years old. And it sounds like, well, how does that work? You just stop doing certain things and you just get money? No, obviously not. It's not like, I'm not gonna be that guy that's like, as soon as you stop smoking weed, $1 million shows up in your bank account. Absolutely not. I wish it worked that way. Trust me, a lot of people would stop smoking weed if that was the case. The way it does work though, and the way I see it, and the reason I believe this has actually been my superpower, is because success, in my eyes, is a game of subtraction. Right? So many people think, what do I need to add in? What's the perfect business model? What's the perfect way to acquire clients? How do I sell to my clients more effectively? That's all stuff that you get to once you've actually started on that path and started on that road and started on that journey. But once you have an idea of what your business model is, once you know what you want to do, it's a matter of how serious are you about your goal? How much unreasonable action are you going to take? How obsessed are you with that goal? I don't know anyone that gets completely drunk and wasted and immediately starts thinking about their business. They're like, oh my God, I really got to make that hire. I really got to call that client back. I really got to try to get that customer. It just doesn't happen. It's a way for people to de-stress, which is bullshit, to take their mind off of the things that they know they should be focusing on, to put themselves in an altered state of psychology and reality that makes them feel happier about their current position and situation, that makes them feel better about where they are. Me, I don't want to live that way. See, I'm living in the world as my most natural self, right? No substances, no drugs, no alcohol. This is how I show up in the world every single day, and this is how I want to show up in the world. I don't want to show up any other way than the way that I'm showing up right now. Sorry, the truck just went by. But what I'm saying is, if you're someone that's smoking and drinking and you're on substances right now, even if it's infrequent, even if it's a once a week thing, a once every other week thing, a once a month thing, just cut it out. Because you've proven that if you're doing it that infrequently, you don't need it anyway, right? So if you don't need it anyway, then what the fuck is the point of doing it at all? If you're like, oh, I just do it occasionally to have a good time, well then my question is, can you have a good time without it? If the answer is yes, just prove to yourself that you really don't need it, right? Because if you actually don't need it, you won't even do it the once a month. If you actually don't need it, you won't do it the once every other week. You won't do it the once a year because you actually don't need it. And let that be your superpower, the ability to say no. The ability to build such a level of conviction and self-discipline that you actually don't need this shit. And guess what ends up happening? You start to subtract all these things that are not working for you. You subtract the nicotine, you subtract the weed, you subtract the liquor, you subtract all these things that just hold you back. And next thing you know, you've freed up more of your mental space. You've freed up more of your time. You've raised your frequency. You've raised your energy. You're now thinking differently. You're operating differently. Your thoughts are different. You're not thinking about when the next time you're going to get drunk is or the once a month that you're allowed to drink. You're just thinking, I no longer drink. I no longer smoke. I no longer do any of these things. And it's left me with nothing but time. And with this time, I'm going to choose to build something fucking amazing. I'm going to choose to go to church. I'm going to choose to do better for myself and for my future family. That's the type of guy that you need to be. That's who you need to show up as if you actually want to achieve your goals. So, when I say success is a game of subtraction, you need to subtract all the things that are cluttering your mind, right? If you ask any alcoholic, what advice would you have for me? They'll be like, never drink, never drink. If you ask anyone that's addicted to Coke or anything else, what's your advice? Don't do this drug. They're going to say, don't do it at all, right? Because it's always easier to just never gain a habit than it is to try quitting one. And another reason I don't do any of this shit is because I have an incredibly addictive personality. You see, when I used to vape when I was a young kid, 14, 15 years old, I didn't just vape. I vaped, I sold vapes, I vaped more than everyone else. It was kind of sick. I was going through basically a Juul pod every day. That's absurd. I don't know what long-term health issues I probably got from that. Who the fuck knows? But I was vaping a Juul pod every day at 14 to 15 years old. That's not normal. That's not healthy. That's absurd. So what I'm saying is, when I was doing that, I was doing a lot of it. Now that I work on my business, I do a lot of that. With the gym, I do a lot of it. So if I have an obsessive personality, I want to obsess over things that are actually going to serve me, that are going to force me to build, that are going to push me out of my comfort zone, that are going to make me do better. I don't want to obsess about things that are going to fuck my life up, right? And it's so easy to get caught in that trap because no one has a drink thinking, it's my first drink, I'm on my way to being an alcoholic. No one thinks that. No one knows that, right? So it gets tricky, and it becomes a situation where you need to make sure that even if you are going to do these things, which I don't suggest that you do at all, you need to have a very, very high level of self-control. Because if you don't, these things will swallow you up. And why not just cut them out? What do they cost you? Time and money? You need both of those things. You got to buy both of those things back when you start your business anyway. So cut them out. Be the type of person that's going to build successfully. Because all the people that I know that fucking crush it, that are young, are not drinkers, and they're just not smokers. It's that simple. And if they do it, it's highly, highly, highly infrequent. For me, it's never, but for most people, it's just highly, highly infrequent. And bro, I'm telling you, you move with a certain level of energy when people see that. You want to talk about getting girls, trying to pick up a chick? Go out sober when everyone else is drunk and see how much better you do with girls. And if you're not doing well, you got to figure out why you're not comfortable with yourself. Because I'll tell you, I've met a lot of guys that I'll go out with, friends of mine, and I'll be like, yo, go walk up to that girl. And they'll be like, oh, I got to get a little something in my system first. Are you fucking kidding me? You need to have a drink to have basic human conversation, and you wonder why you have depression and a lack of self-confidence in your day-to-day life? Come on, bro. This is the answer. This is the solution. You need to face yourself in your most sober form. You need to live with yourself and learn to love yourself. And if you don't love yourself, build a version of yourself that you do love. Because you see, I probably wouldn't love myself, like everyone says, oh, self-love, if I didn't go to the gym 6 days a week, if I didn't build my businesses, if I didn't try to help people on a day-to-day basis, I wouldn't be proud of who I am. So don't get it twisted. I'm not saying, like I said, as soon as you just cut these things out of your life, you're this perfect person. No one's a perfect person. No one is God. But what I will say is that if you cut these things out of your life, you remove all that dead space, you remove all that dead weight on your physical body and on your mind. You remove these massive energy drainers. And all that does is free up your time and free up your life to build bigger, better, stronger, and more things. And when you do that, success is inevitable.